Yeah,
And-
but that would be a wonderful thing to drop off a coat and some mittens and whatever you can to the
Sure.
Salvation Army right now.
I believe
People
we
are
all
in
should.
need. People are in need. There's a lot of people suffering right now. People that have never suffered before are suffering. The middle class is suffering right now in our country tremendously.
And the elderly, too.
And the elderly, yeah.
Because the elderly, they
Absolutely.
don't have their money invested in the stock market.
That's right.
And they got it in the bank, they're assuming they're going to get interest
No
on it. And they had
interest.
no interest
No
for the
interest
last
to live
4
on.
years.
That's right.
Last 4 years, and it's hurting me, big time.
That's right.
Big time.
That's right.
I haven't made any money in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, we're hurting. I mean, everybody is. It's bad. Things are bad. If you're not working for the government and protected or a union, if you're a small business owner, if you're retired, elderly, middle class, you're hurting.
And this is a phony issue that only the Republicans support Wall Street. Obama's doing a hell of a job supporting Wall Street, and their profits are up over 100% since he became president.
Well,
the stock market.
That's right. The stock market, the
Yeah.
rich are getting richer, and the poor, the middle class is getting destroyed. But that, to me, is the strategy. That is on purpose.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They know that the middle class needs to go away. Just like small banks and lending institutions. Dodd-Frank. It's a legislation meant to destroy our small banks and lending institutions.
Yep.
There's so much bad policy right now. Common Core is a huge issue, and we're talking about what a fiasco Obamacare is, and they're not even touching on the fact that there are 16,000 new IRS employees that are going to fascism force us to buy this health care that we don't want, or many of us didn't want, didn't need, and take over 1/6 of the economy. And then, in addition to the IRS employees, there are all these nonprofit organizations that have received grants to be going to targeted neighborhoods, into people's homes, find out what they're eating, what they're smoking, what they're talking about, if their children are taken care of or not, and determine whether they're capable parents, whether they deserve to have what they have or not have. And we don't even know who these people are. There's no training, there's no identification. They have all of your information. They are data mining our children. Common Core is data mining your child in a way that has never been done in the history of this country.
And that's directed right from the White House, all the way down.
All the way down.
That's government is using government agency to take over the events that are unconstitutional.
Well, what people don't know, parents need to know, because I spoke about this the other day in a meeting, that my daughter came home from school, and she's a freshman in high school, and she was very upset because of a lesson that the teacher had given her. And when I read the lesson, it's called Left versus Right, and I have it right here, and when I read the lesson, I was furious. And I could understand my daughter's very smart, very capable. I trust her judgment. She's responsible young lady. And so when I read the lesson, it was all misinformation. None of it was true. It was indoctrination, and I have it in writing. So the way it was presented to the children, the subject matters are all to make conservatives, and they lump conservatives in with Republicans.
Wow.
Okay, now I'm a conservative, but I'm not registered Republican right now. I'm a registered libertarian. Libertarians are considered on the conservative spectrum. But this is designed to make liberals, Democrats, and lefts look fantastic, but the conservatives look horrible. Let me ask you a question. See which one of you can answer the question. Uh-oh. Who started the Department of Environmental Protection? Who signed it into law? Which president?
Nixon.
You got it. Richard Nixon, a Republican, signed into law the Department of Environmental Protection. Yet the liberals that are teaching our kids would like the children not to know that fact. The fact doesn't matter, because no Republican could possibly be concerned about environmental protection, because Republicans, of course, are evil. So they're teaching misinformation. So then another subject here was war. The conservatives are for war. They want war. Now, I don't know, so what I ended up doing was writing the teacher and saying, this is just wrong. These are not facts. This is not true. And I met with the principal and the teacher. And the teacher basically said, your daughter didn't get the right information. This wasn't what was said. She wrote down everything wrong. My daughter's a straight A student. She doesn't write stuff down wrong. She's a straight A student, so all of a sudden this one lesson, she must have gotten everything wrong on. So another question.
That's a form of socialism, like that, remember Economics 101, that animated thing with Obama? Remember? And they showed with the school grades, and then all the higher students wouldn't try because they were averaging the grades. And then before you know it, nobody tried, and then they all flunked. Remember that?
Well, the thing is that you send your kids to school to get an education based on fact. If you're talking about history, there are certain, it's pretty easy to check it. But this teacher is actually putting out completely incorrect information. For example, if conservatives are for war, who got us involved in Vietnam?
Who got us involved in the Second World War? Who got us involved in the First World War? Who got us involved in the Korean War? Who got us, like you said...
And almost in a new war recently, in Syria.
Vietnam.
In Vietnam, it was Kennedy and LBJ.
Right.
And I said, they weren't Republicans, they were Democrats. But this teacher is telling them completely wrong information. Now, as parents, I'm not a believer in the public school indoctrination at all. And this Common Core is being rolled out. It wasn't tested. They label it a state initiative, a collaborative between states. Nothing could be further from the truth. This Common Core has not been tested. There's no data that support it. The children their test results in the states where it has been implemented are plummeting down. And the teachers don't know how to teach it, and it's insanity. My daughter came home and gave me an example. She said, Mom, the assignment is to act out a play, but you haven't read the play yet. Or to comment on something before you learn the lesson. Really, truly.
Wow.
So that's my daughter came home and told me that, but then I read it. I did a lot of research. I've read other parents and teachers. There are teachers dropping out because of Common Core. They will not participate in this horrific government takeover of our education. And the worst thing about it, and this is where it's so important, this is the national data collection for our children. This is what your government is going to control, how your government is going to control your children. They are now going to collect data on how your child responds to the lesson. They want to know whether your child likes it, dislikes it, protests against it. The government's going to know whether you're in favor of it or not. No, none of the parents have been brought into this. No parents have been asked to participate, nothing. And they're going to know everything about your child. Religious affiliation. What does a child's religious affiliation have to do with being a student and learning a lesson? Shouldn't have anything to do with it.
That's right.
Their attendance, their telephone numbers, their bus stop times, their allergies, diseases, languages, and dialects spoken. Delinquent statuses, the number of attempts an assignment is given to them. Their non-school activity involvement. Their meal types. Their maternal last name. Their voting status. Their marital status. And causes of death in their family.
Wow.
This is
Well, government can't
sneaky
do that.
and terrible.
Government shouldn't
They
do
are,
that.
they are doing it
When I
right
say
now.
government, I mean federal government. What if we change the president and you got somebody who's a Looney Tune? He's gonna give all his views and they have to teach all the children in school because that president says it? Or that government is controlled by that president?
This
A Looney
lesson,
Tune, what do you think's in there now?
Well, something worse.
Bozo the clown or
Something
what?
worse.
this
Something
this
worse.
lesson plan does not allow for any innovation. What made us successful as a country? Yankee
Ingenuity.
ingenuity.
Absolutely.
This Common Core lesson plan allows for zero ingenuity. Zero. No creativity. Why even have teachers? Why not just get a robot to teach our kids? Because you don't need a teacher. The blessing of having a good teacher is that teacher's able to decide what that child needs to thrive.
So the state is not, the states, from what I gathered, have no control of any of this. This is all
Yes,
from
they do.
private
No,
corporations.
yes, they do.
They bought into it.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
state.
they bought into it.
In Connecticut, I know the states are passing information down to the towns. The state is.
Yeah, but this information came from corporations.
Not corporations so much,
Well,
government.
corporations also.
Corporations.
It was not written by a bunch of educators on a local level. That's not true. There's so much misinformation and propaganda by the government on Common Core. And it was never tested, just like the Obamacare website. It was never tested. So it's failing. The teachers were ill-prepared. I think they had, in Fisher's Island School in New York, they had 1 week of training to implement this entire new education system. 1 week of training. The kids don't know what they're doing. The teachers, it's a disaster. And it's not, the parents do not even know this is happening. They were never told. They were never asked to come to a meeting and by the way, we're going in the next year or two, we'll be adopting Common Core, and we want you to be prepared for it, and we want you to understand it, and we want you to buy into it. None of that. All the meetings that are happening right now with Common Core are happening after the fact because of the problems of Common Core.
You know what? We better show this Glenn Beck video on Common Core, 6-minute video.
Great, I'm
And,
looking forward to it.
And that'll add a little more insight where he compares it to China, how China does business. And remember, Jeffrey Emault, the CEO of GE, we've showed those videos here, Wally,
Yep.
where he says communism isn't really a bad way to do
Yep.
business,
Yep.
and GE's moving all their products over to China. And Joe, when you roll that video, can you give us a little volume out here, please? Thank you.
I got some examples
to
here.
dangle in front of the cash-starved states. And they dangled it and said, all you have to do is sign up for this program. You'll get the cash. And state after state signed. How many states are taking this?
45.
45. 5 now have backed out because they understood. Texas is one of them. But warning, Texas adopted another program almost exactly like it. And the GOP is protecting that program. And so you have to be extraordinarily careful because they'll just rename it. This is not a liberal agenda. This is not a conservative agenda. This is not Republican or Democrat. This is progressive. It is control. States signed up. And they had to develop data systems for collecting large amounts of information on public school children. And I mean large amounts. I have in front of me, this is from one company, just one of the companies that will be asking and collecting data on your kids. And in front of me, I have 50 or 61 pages of very small print of all of the information that they are going to be collecting on your children.